way, Jose.
Red I got you. Come subscribe, like. Come subscribe, like. Come subscribe, like. Come subscribe.
No way.
Red I got you. Alright, so today I am making another video on Cobra Kai, Season 6, Part 2, and today I'm just going to be talking about Axel as a character. Now, overall, I am not the biggest fan of Axel, but I do not think that he is the worst character in the entire series. I think he has a lot of issues, and there are some things I want to talk about that are good about his character that I want to see expanded upon in Part 3, and there are a lot of things that I also want to see that are, fixed overall. And just some of the things that I think are already just ruined about his character and just things that really bother me. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Now, if I want to talk about the overall storyline, really, his character, Axel is a character in Zara, were introduced in episode 1 or episode 6 of season 6, and basically the point of his character in Zara's character is to basically challenge the hierarchy and basically change it in the entire series when it comes to the younger, like, teen characters of the series who are training and are actually participating in the Sekai. When it comes to Axel and Zara, they are the strongest of their team, and basically all the other ones basically do a kneel. I think there was 4 other people on their team, and they basically take down Quan, Tori, and the rest of the Cobra Kais. And it basically shows like they are not only the strongest people on their team, but the strongest people, or some of the strongest, in the entire tournament. And because of that, you really see a power dynamic that's different from what we've seen in the rest of the show, because Axel is like basically the strongest character in the series besides Sensei's. And the way it's set up is so interesting and is different from other characters because he shows up at the end of episode 1 of part 2, and he basically just annihilates Quan and some of the other Cobra Kais, which with ease, honestly. And it's very surprising because it's like we don't know anything about this character, and unless you like saw the trailers or you saw some promotional photos or something like that, you don't know what to expect or that this character even exists to begin with. Now, on one hand, I do think that this is a very strong start for 2 rivals of the main cast, mainly Miguel and Robbie, because Axel is set up to be a rival for Miguel because, you know, he had the love triangle with Sam and Miguel, and with Zara, she basically was in the love triangle with Robbie and Tori. Now, my whole thing is, I do think that this does show that these 2 are prominent characters and very strong fighters and are a threat, but it does kind of undermine Quan as a character a little bit. And I mean, with Tori, it doesn't necessarily undermine her, only because we already know she's one of the strongest characters, and we've already seen her fight and be a prominent character. But with Quan, we haven't seen enough of him, especially fighting Robbie, who's technically his rival at this given point. So the fact that he's getting bodied by another character, it kind of undermines his threat, or him being a threat is better wording, because like at the end of the day, we want to see the main rival like be at the very top before he gets knocked down. And I feel like that usually works well when it comes to writing a character, is like you need to see them strong before they're weak. Now, a good comparison to this is Johnny Lawrence in Karate Kid 1. Now, the thing is, in Karate Kid 1, I do think that Johnny was one of the best rivals or bullies in fiction, honestly. And I think he was set up very well, and his payoff to being defeated and then accepting defeat by giving Daniel the medal, or not the medal, the award for defeating him and using the crane kick and stuff. I think that's set up perfectly, and it shows that Johnny was definitely influenced by Kreese, and it just sets him up to be a good rival. And I think Quan should have had the same sort of like, I mean, he did sort of have the same setup with Kreese telling him to do, reckless, just bad stuff outside of the tournament to sabotage Miyagi-Do and basically like mess with them. I do think that's good. And even Quan like taking the room keys and stuff like that just shows that he is superior and that he is above like Miguel and Robbie and stuff like that, and Hawk and all of them. I also like the power dynamic by Quan basically messing with Robbie, acting as if he slept with Tori, which is kind of a callback to Karate Kid 1, where Johnny basically is it's revealed that Johnny actually used to be with Ali at some point, and they broke up and stuff like that. So they have this sort of like a love triangle there as well. So it does show, like, usually when it comes to conflicts in the Karate Kid franchise, it's handled with like a love triangle, and that's why we have 2 of them in this season, and we had the Miguel, Robbie, Sam love triangle and stuff like that. So that part is consistent. I don't like how, again, Kwan's power is sort of undermined in the first episode, part 2, with Axel, and it's like the build-up should be a lot stronger, because even in Karate Kid 1 with Johnny, we didn't see him ever get necessarily defeated by anybody. So him being strong, and not Daniel and the audience don't necessarily know how Johnny's going to be defeated, because we never seen him get defeated ever. Also, senseis don't count. Like, for example, if Miguel gets defeated by a sensei, it doesn't count. Like, if he gets defeated by Silver or Johnny or Daniel, it doesn't matter. Or Wolf. Like, I don't care, because again, those are like old, like 40-plus-year-old men, 50-plus-year-old men who have trained in karate for years. It would be the same thing with Axel being defeated by a sensei. It wouldn't matter. Like, he's still the strongest character besides a sensei. And it would be the same thing with Johnny. Like, Johnny got defeated in Karate Kid 1 technically by Mr. Miyagi along with his friends. When I think it was Halloween, when they chased Daniel all the way like outside to the fence, and then they beat the hell out of him, and then Miyagi saved him. That doesn't matter either, because again, he's literally above all of them like by a million. So that doesn't matter. Now, the way Axel is supposed to be categorized is he's more so like a character that is supposed to be a fill-in for the tournament, and some of the students in the tournament, because obviously Cobra Kai are like the main threat that we know of and we've actually developed throughout the entire series. Mainly Kreese teaching them. Terry was teaching some of the students, but he was sent to jail, so it's mainly Kreese now. You have obviously Quan, who was set up in part 1, Tori, who was set up as a character throughout the whole series, and some of the other fill-ins who are basically just extras, but it's whatever. They're very prominent, strong characters in Kim's dojo, so we know they're strong off rip. So that's fine. But then with Axel, obviously he's just supposed to be a fill-in for the Iron Dragons to show that how strong they are and just how competitive the Sekai Tekai in general is supposed to be. I just don't like how Axel ends up being literally the strongest. It sort of creates a dynamic to where I don't really necessarily know how Miguel or Robbie, depending on who actually fights him in part 3 and actually beats him, because obviously there's promotional photos of Robbie fighting him and stuff like that, but we don't know if that's just going to be them finishing the fight and then Robbie getting defeated and then maybe Miguel fills in, because that's what a lot of theories are basically, that's what a lot of people are saying. But either way, it doesn't really necessarily matter, because at the end of the day, we don't know how he's going to actually be defeated. Because with Axel, he is not only the strongest, but he's the strongest by far. He destroys Robbie, destroys Miguel, destroys Quan, who are literally the 3 strongest characters besides a sensei, right? That are below Axel, obviously. So those would be 2, 3, and 4, ranking wise. So it really makes me think, if they do defeat him, it's going to be plot armor. And a lot of people say that, and it's like, yeah, maybe you could think of some strategies, like, if they get like a spinning high kick, or if Robbie's defense is like A1 if he's focused, or yada yada yada. You can think of all this bullcrap, right? But at the end of the day, the way they set this character up, the way he's able to take hits, take kicks, he has a lot of endurance, stamina, and literally I don't think he's necessarily taken any good hits. Like, you could say like Yoon or Quan technically got hits on him, like kicks, but it's nothing that actually necessarily phased him. So what does it really matter if it doesn't do anything? I must also add that obviously I want the character to be strong. I just don't want him to be strong to the point where no one can defeat him. Now, usually when a character is introduced, we see their strengths, and we don't really see any weaknesses, because again, it's the beginning. And if the people who make the show want you to like a character, they want you to show them, especially in a like shonen for anime, or like a fighting show or an action movie, they want you to show this character being at their very peak and at their strongest when their strengths are amplified. But then later on in the show, they'll probably chip at their strengths a little bit, chip at the character and show some of their weaknesses, but that's later on, and that's when the main heroes can actually find that out and then exploit that. But I feel like with Axel, we haven't necessarily seen that, and there hasn't been any hints of that. And I don't like this theory of like, oh well, since Quan died, he might be a little bit more scared of like hurting someone or something like that. Like, I don't want him to be nerfed because of Quan's death. I really don't. If that happens, that's going to be terrible writing, because, but I mean, by that logic, shouldn't the other characters be nerfed by it? They're like, oh my god, this dude might kill me. Like, no, I don't like that being written into the show at all. I simply just want him to be defeated like manually, where they actually have to find some sort of strategy, some sort of technique in order to defeat him. Like, I don't even care if they bring the pressure points back, like something, right? Obviously the pressure points aren't as overpowered as people think they are, and that's why I'm not saying that as like a one shot, one kill kind of like scenario. Especially in season 4, they basically addressed that because Daniel used it on Johnny. It didn't insta defeat him or anything like that. He still recovered from it and ended up being a draw. So I don't even think that would work. So I'm really kind of left thinking to myself, what is the main thing that's going to actually defeat Axel without it being terrible writing? Now, in terms of screen time, I fundamentally feel like screen time should have been given more to like the characters who haven't got any time in the show, rather than characters who have already been in the show. Like Miguel, Robbie, Tori, Hawk, and Sam have already gotten a lot of time in the series in general. So we should have gotten more time with like Yoon, Quan, Axel, and Zara, so we can actually care about these characters. So when they lose, it's like, okay, we actually feel something for them, or we feel like it's more cathartic that a character that is very powerful and very fleshed out was defeated. So like when we see them at the end of their character arc, it feels accomplished. I also think we should have got a lot more time with Axel and Wolf, you know, just training in general and seeing how he interacts with Wolf. If he's like scared of him, maybe he has like bad posture, you know, when he's like, maybe he's a little bit, he looks down a lot when he talks to Wolf, stuff like that, just to show like, okay, he is not comfortable being in the same room as Wolf, his sensei, and it would show just sort of like a power dynamic there. Maybe we could get a little background into, you know, Axel's, you know, home life, and, you know, just why he struggled to make friends, maybe, or, you know, have a girlfriend or something like that. Maybe he's always been training, because he has been training his entire life from what they established, I'm pretty sure. So him just in general, and also he went to a lot of countries, so he's seen a lot of the world. So it's just like, it would be more interesting to see more about him outside of karate, and how he lost a lot of opportunities to be happy and just be a person in general. Because as of right now, all we really got is just the fact that he had one conversation with Sam. They had to fight off Quan and Yoon, and basically he just tried to kiss her out of nowhere after having one conversation, and then, you know, she ran away and stuff like that. So and then he ends up mean mugging Miguel, who's her boyfriend, once he finds out. And it's like, it just feels like a paradigm shift from the soft and caring character that we got beforehand, and I feel like there should have been more of a transition into that rather than just jumping into that, because it feels very rushed. Another problem is, when I was watching the scene, I knew either she was going to kiss him, or it was going to be an awkward situation where he ends up being upset because he doesn't get to be with her, which is obviously what happened. And it's really irritating because I was able to predict this when they were walking together. And like, I just knew something was going to happen. Even like when he had his shirt off and he was training and stuff like that on the beach, and she approached him, I just knew something was going to happen, and that irritated me, because if I know that's going to happen, why doesn't Sam understand that? And she was the one who put herself in that position. Now, I'm not saying everything is on her, like I've said in other videos where, you know, Sam has been a part of a love triangle, and, you know, a lot of it has been on her. I'm not necessarily saying that, because obviously she didn't cheat, so I'm glad she didn't, but I'm still mad that she put herself in that position to begin with. I also find it very strange that some people think that Axel and Sam deserve to be together or something like that, or that's how the show should end, like that's how this should be written to begin with. But the problem is, we literally got a couple scenes with this character, and you guys, actually one main scene where they're actually talking and hanging out, and you guys think that they should be in a relationship now? It's like, some people genuinely believe that, and that's ridiculous. Like, you can like a character and whatnot, whatever, but I mean, chemistry is so subjective, and when it comes to this, I feel like Axel is making himself look like a villain for the fact that he's trying to act as if Miguel's the villain, and then mean mugging him, and then you're acting as if Sam is in the wrong for choosing her boyfriend. It's like what am I supposed to think of this character? It genuinely does frustrate me when I'm watching like the show, watching these episodes, and what am I supposed to feel bad for him? Like, that makes me angry at him. And that's why I feel like fundamentally there was something to salvage about Axel's character, especially when it comes to, you know, focusing. I feel like fundamentally they should have focused on his abuse storyline and kept that going, and had that be the main focus. I would have never given him a love interest to begin with. I would have had Sam be his friend, and maybe he defends. Maybe Axel can still defend Sam against Quan, but it's never like a relationship thing or any of that. Because I don't want him to want a relationship with Sam and then hate Miguel and then beat up Miguel, because Miguel doesn't deserve to get beat up because a character that was just introduced is just already stronger than basically every other teen character for the plot. And then for the plot, he also has to be a psychopath who simps over Sam, and it has this like obsession. Then he goes after Miguel for no apparent reason, just for that, even though Miguel did nothing and didn't know he existed until now. The last thing I want to say is what I would do to fix Axel's character if I were writing it. Now, overall, I don't want to add too much. The main thing I do want to add is when it comes to his abuse storyline, which is, again, what I would have freaking focused on, is I would have made it so that Daniel ends up finding out about, Wolf abusing Axel. And it's from Sam. So Sam has that conversation with him. She sees that there are lashes on his back, bruises from, I guess, Wolf hitting him with something. Maybe it's just hitting him in general, right? And then she tells Daniel, and Daniel talks to Johnny, and then they confront Wolf. And that's why both Daniel and Johnny would end up having some beef with Wolf. And that's why they would end up fighting in episode 10. I think it would make the, not chemistry, the rivalry between those three, it would make it a lot stronger. And overall, like, I would understand why Daniel ends up joining the fights rather than Daniel just joining the fight just because Johnny just happens to be on his team. Like, I think it would be more, it would be better build up, and it would actually add some like character moments between Daniel and other characters, mainly Wolf, who needs more characterization. But yeah, overall, that's basically all I have to say about this. Comment, subscribe, like, let me know what you think about the video. I really don't want to go too hard on Axel. I've been very frustrated with some of the stuff in this season, because again, it's the end, and I want the ending of the show to be spectacular. I want it to be flawless. Honestly, it's never going to be flawless, but maybe like just really good and very satisfying for most of the characters who have been here since season 1 or 2, or just the beginning in general, and just have good fights. And just be cathartic in general. And I feel like with characters like Axel, it's very frustrating to get that, especially since he is a newer character. He's only had 5 episodes. Actually, you could say less than that, because I don't think he showed up in episode 7. If he did, like, barely, briefly. But yeah, it's just, I want more for the series rather than what we got. And overall, I feel like it's delivering in some aspects and not delivering in others. And I just, also, I must mention this at the end also. I don't think Axel is necessarily responsible for Quan's death at any given point at all. Like, I don't think him beating him up was unjustified, or him causing his, I don't think he necessarily caused his death, because Quan was the one who picked up the knife and, yada. But basically the point is, right, I just wanted to add that at the end. He's not responsible for Quan's death. But overall, I do think that he is responsible for being a very flawed character in this season, and I think he's too powerful. Entirely too powerful. So yeah, comment, subscribe, like, let me know what you think of the video, and I'll see you guys later.
No way, Jose.
Red Hot Gotsy, come subscribe, like, come subscribe, like, come subscribe, like, come subscribe.